Flesh and Steel. The Forging of General Grievous. Chapter 1. The Kaleesh Warriors Rise. The primordial jungles of Kalee pulsated with an otherworldly vitality, a symphony of alien chirps and calls echoing through the verdant canopy. Amidst this tapestry of vibrant flora, a lithe figure moved with preternatural grace, barely disturbing the lush undergrowth.
The trail veers eastward, Father. Our quarry proves elusive.
Kumayan Jai Shilal's golden eyes narrowed, focusing on the subtle impressions in the loamy earth. His grip tightened on the intricately carved bone handle of his lig sword, muscles coiled in anticipation. The ancestral weapon's weight felt like an extension of his arm, a bridge between past and present.
Patience, my son. The hunt transcends mere pursuit. It is a communion with our ancestors, a crucible for your spirit.
The elder Kaleesh's voice barely rose above the jungle's whispers, yet Kumayan absorbed every syllable. He remained motionless, melding with the forest's essence. The air, thick with moisture, clung to his scaled skin, carrying the myriad scents of Kalee's wildlife.
I comprehend, Father. The ancient ways shall be honored.
A twig snapped in the distance, and Kumayan's head whipped towards the sound. His nostrils flared, catching the musky scent of their prey. With a subtle hand gesture, he signaled his father to flank left while he advanced.
Remember, Kumayan, the Mumu is not merely a beast. It embodies the very spirit of Kalee, a test sent by our forebears.
Kumayan nodded, his movements fluid and silent as he crept forward. The jungle seemed to hold its breath, aware of the impending confrontation. Suddenly, the foliage before him exploded in a fury of motion. A massive mumu burst forth, its tusks gleaming and eyes blazing with primal fury.
Great spirit of Kalee, I challenge thee.
Kumayan's lig sword sang through the air, meeting the mumu's charge. The blade bit deep, drawing first blood, but the beast was far from defeated. It wheeled, tusks slashing perilously close to the young warrior's face. The air filled with the mumu's enraged bellow, shaking leaves from nearby trees.
Focus, Kumayan. Seek its vulnerability.
Kumayan danced away from the mumu's relentless attacks, his movements a fluid blend of instinct and training. Each dodge brought him closer to the creature's vulnerable flank. In a heartbeat, he struck again, the lig sword finding its mark between the mumu's ribs.
Return to the earth, mighty one. Your strength becomes mine.
The mumu staggered, its life essence seeping into the jungle floor. But even in its death throes, it lashed out, catching Kumayan with a glancing blow from its tusk. The young Kaleesh stumbled, tasting blood in his mouth.
Finish it, my son. Prove your worth.
Gritting his teeth against the pain, Kumayan gathered himself for one final assault. With a primal roar that matched the mumu's own, he leapt, bringing his lig sword down in a devastating arc. The blade cleaved through sinew and bone, and the great beast finally fell.
It is done. The spirits have judged me worthy.
Kumayan stood over his fallen prey, chest heaving from exertion, but eyes shining with triumph. His father approached, pride evident in every step.
You have done well, Kumayan. Our ancestors smile upon you this day.
From a satchel at his waist, the elder Kaleesh produced an object wrapped in ceremonial cloth. With reverent care, he unwrapped it, revealing a bone mask of exquisite craftsmanship.
You have earned the right to don this, the mask of our forebears. May it bestow upon you strength and wisdom in the battles to come.
Kumayan accepted the mask with trembling hands, feeling the weight of generations past settle upon him. As he placed it over his face, a shiver ran through his body, a sense of destiny, of greatness yet to be achieved.
I shall bring honor to our people, Father. This I swear by the blood spilled today.
The journey back to their village was one of quiet reflection. Kumayan, now adorned with his ancestral mask, carried himself with newfound gravitas. The dense jungle canopy parted, revealing the ancient stone temples of their clan, their weathered surfaces a testament to the enduring spirit of the Kaleesh.
Behold, my son, the fruits of your labors shall nourish our people for many cycles.
As they entered the village, the haunting melodies of bone flutes filled the air, heralding their return. clan members gathered, their eyes fixed on Kumain and his hard-won prize.
Young Sheila returns victorious. The spirits have blessed us this day.
The celebration lasted long into the night, with Kumain at its center. Tales of his hunt grew with each retelling, adding to the young warrior's burgeoning legend. As the fires burned low and the festivities waned, Kumain found a moment of solitude atop the highest temple.
This marks but the beginning. I feel it in my very essence.
Chapter 2. The Huk War. The once peaceful jungles of Kali now echoed with the ominous buzz of Huk dropships. Kumain Jai Shilao, his bone mask gleaming in the filtered sunlight, crouched low in the underbrush. His keen eyes tracked the movements of the insectoid invaders as they scuttled through the foliage, their chitinous exoskeletons scraping against bark and leaf.
They defile our sacred lands with their very presence.
His grit tightened on his slug-thrower rifle. Knuckles white beneath his weathered hide gloves. The acrid scent of smoke drifted on the breeze. Another Kalesh village set ablaze by the merciless Huk. Kumain's nostrils flared, rage building within him like a gathering storm.
The hunting party is in position, Kumain. We await your signal.
Ronderu Kumar materialized beside him, her own mask adorned with intricate clan markings, her lithe form coiled with barely contained energy, twin-legged swords strapped to her back. Kumain nodded, a silent understanding passing between the two warriors.
On my mark, we strike. Show no mercy to these invaders.
With a fluid motion, Kumain raised his hand. Fingers blade. The jungle fell deathly silent, as if nature itself held its breath in anticipation. Then, with a sharp downward slash of his arm, chaos erupted. Kalish warriors burst from their hiding spots, their war cries piercing the air. Slug-thrower rounds tore through hook carapaces, while vibro blades clashed against chitinous limbs. Kaiman led the charge, his rifle barking death with each precise shot.
Ambush! Fall back to the ships!
The insectoids scattered, their organized lines breaking under the ferocity of the Kalish assault. Kumain and Ronderu moved as one, a deadly dance of blade and bullet. Where Kumain's rifle found a gap in the Huk's armor, Ronderu's swords would flash, severing limbs and antennae.
They flee like the cowards they are.
Press the advantage. Drive them from our world.
The battle raged for hours, the jungle floor littered with broken Huk bodies and discarded weapons. As the last dropship retreated into the blood-red sky, Kumain stood atop a fallen Huk walker, his mask splattered with alien ichor.
Victory is ours! Oh, hail Shiloh the undefeated!
The gathered Kalish warriors took up the chant, their voices rising in a thunderous chorus. Kumain removed his mask, revealing a face etched with determination and the faintest hint of a satisfied smile.
This is but the first of many triumphs, my brothers and sisters. The Huk will learn to fear the very name of Kali.
In the months that followed, Kumain's tactical genius reshaped the face of the war. Kalish raiding parties struck Huk outposts with surgical precision, vanishing into the jungle before reinforcements could arrive. The invaders found themselves constantly on the defensive, their superior technology rendered ineffective against Kumain's guerrilla tactics.
Your strategies have turned the tide, Kumain. The Huk grow desperate.
And in their desperation, they will make mistakes. We must be ready to exploit every weakness.
Their bond deepened with each shared victory, forged in the crucible of battle. Where Kumain was calculated precision, Ronderu was unbridled ferocity. Together, they became living legends among their people, their names whispered with reverence around Kalish campfires. But war exacts a heavy toll, even on the mightiest of warriors. During a daring assault on a Huk stronghold along the Jinhua Sea, fate dealt a cruel blow.
Kumain, they've breached the eastern flank.
The battle had devolved into chaos, Kalish and Huk locked in brutal close-quarters combat. A massive Huk warrior, its carapace scarred from countless battles, bore down on Ronderu.
Ronderu, behind you!
His warning came a heartbeat too late. The Huk's serrated limb found a gap in Ronderu's armor, piercing deep. She staggered, her leg swords falling from suddenly nerveless fingers. Time seemed to slow as Kumain watched his closest companion, his other half in battle, crumple to the blood-soaked sand. With a roar of primal fury, he charged forward, abandoning his rifle in favor of Ronderu's fallen blades.
You will pay for this with your miserable lives.
The Huck never stood a chance against Cumain's grief-fueled onslaught. When the red haze of battle finally cleared, he stood alone amidst a field of broken insectoid corpses. But victory tasted like ashes in his mouth as he cradled Ronderu's lifeless form.
I swear, by all our ancestors, I will not rest until every last Huck is driven from our stars.
From that day forward, Cumain Jai Shilao ceased to exist. In his place rose Grievous, a being of single-minded vengeance. The war took on a new, terrible dimension as Grievous led his forces in a relentless campaign of extermination.
The fire that burns within you threatens to consume all. Grievous, at what cost will you pursue this vendetta?
At any cost, for Ronderu, for Kali, I will see our enemies ground to dust beneath my feet.
And so, the Huck War entered its bloodiest phase. Grievous's tactical brilliance, now untempered by mercy, saw the Kalish push beyond their homeworld. They pursued the retreating Huck across star systems, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. The galaxy at large began to take notice of the conflict that had once seemed a mere border dispute. Chapter 3. The Fallen Hero. Final chapter. The once lush jungles of Kali now stood barren, a stark testament to the ravages of war. The air hung heavy with the acrid stench of defeat.
General, the Jedi have arrived. They demand an audience.
Let them come. I'll hear what these so-called peacekeepers have to say.
The Jedi strode into the war-torn clearing, their brown robes billowing in the hot, dry wind. Their leader, a tall Syrian with an elongated cranium, stepped forward.
General Grievous, I am Tai Adimundi of the Jedi Council. We've come to negotiate an end to this conflict.
Negotiate? You mean to dictate terms, Jedi? Your republic has already decided our fate.
The Senate has ruled the Kalesh must withdraw from all conquered systems immediately.
And if we refuse?
Then sanctions will be imposed. Your people will be cut off from galactic trade, aid, everything.
Grievous's eyes narrowed behind his mask, his fingers tightening around the hilt of his leg sword.
These was...
A low growl escaped Grievous's throat, but he knew the fight was lost. With a sharp gesture, he dismissed his warriors. As his troops filed out, Grievous turned his back on the Jedi, staring out over the ruined landscape of his homeworld.
You speak of peace, Jedi, but you bring only more suffering. How many will starve because of your justice?
We regret the hardships your people will face, but this war must end. Too much blood has been spilled already.
Blood? You know nothing of blood, Jedi. You sit in your temple passing judgment from afar. You've never felt the sting of loss, the rage that drives a warrior too.
We understand more than you know, General, but vengeance is not the Jedi way, nor should it be yours.
Grievous whirled, his eyes blazing with fury.
Do not presume to lecture me on ways, Jedi. Your order's hypocrisy sickens me. You claim to be guardians of peace, yet you serve a corrupt Senate that turns a blind eye to the suffering of worlds like Kali.
The Republic is not perfect, but it strives for balance. Your crusade has upset that balance. It must end.
For a long moment, silence reigned. Then, with a sound like tearing metal, Grievous let out a bitter laugh.
Very well, Jedi. You'll have your peace, but mark my words, this is not over. The galaxy will remember the day it turned its back on Kali.
As the Jedi departed, Grievous stood alone atop the temple, watching as the last vestiges of his dream crumbled to ash. In the days that followed, famine swept across Kali. Disease ran rampant through weakened populations. Grievous, the once mighty general, found himself powerless to save his people.
Is this to be our legacy, to wither and die, forgotten by a galaxy that fears us?
It was in this moment of despair that a new opportunity presented itself. A sleek shuttle, bearing the insignia of the intergalactic banking clan, touched down on the outskirts of the Kalish capital.
General Grievous, I presume? I am San Hill, chairman of the IGBC. I believe we may be able to help each other.
Help? And what could a banking clan want with a disgraced warrior?
Your skills are wasted here, General. We offer you a chance to use them on a grander stage. In return, we'll ensure your people are cared for.
Grievous's eyes narrowed, suspicion warring with desperate hope.
And the catch?
Merely your loyalty, General. Your exclusive services as our agent and enforcer.
Grievous looked out over the suffering of his people, then back to the immaculate shuttle. With a heavy heart, he made his choice.
For Kali, I accept.
And so began Grievous's new life as an enforcer for the IGBCs. His tactical genius and combat prowess were put to use in corporate conflicts and proxy wars across the galaxy. But the warrior's heart within him yearned for more.
Is this what I become? A glorified debt collector?
As Grievous's frustration grew, so too did the tensions in the galaxy. Whispers of a separatist movement reached even the farthest corners of space. It was during a routine mission that Grievous found himself drawn into a web of political intrigue that would change the course of his life forever.
General Grievous, your reputation precedes you. I am Count Dooku, and I represent interested parties who could use a man of your talents.
I'm already employed, Count, unless you can offer something better than the IGBC.
How about a chance to reshape the galaxy, to strike back at the Republic and the Jedi who humiliated you?
Grievous's eyes gleamed with a dangerous light.
Warning, critical system failure. Prepare for emergency landing.
As the shuttle plummeted towards the surface of Geonosis, Grievous's last conscious thought was of betrayal. He awoke to find himself strapped to an operating table, his body a mangled wreck of flesh and bone.
It seems fate has forced our hand, General. We can save you, but only if you agree to serve our cause fully. The choice is yours. Embrace a new destiny or face oblivion.
Through the haze of pain and the bitter taste of Bacta, Grievous made his final choice. As the droids began their work, transforming flesh into steel, the last remnants of Kumeyan Jai in his place rose a new being, part Kalesh, part machine, all weapon. General Grievous, the cyborg commander of the Separatist droid army, was born.